Welcome to Type Tune Tint. I'm Tom Kranz. Today's guest has navigated the American immigrant experience with success, and today, a measure of caution. Cedric Muhikira came to the U.S. in 2019 from Rwanda, where he had a passion for construction and a college degree. In his 6 years in Michigan, he's become a civil engineer while traversing the obstacles and uncertainties of being an immigrant. He also found the time to write his first novel, detailing the experience of landing in a new country, alone and unfamiliar with the customs, in hopes that other immigrants will see a kindred spirit. And I'm joined by Cedric Muhikira from his palatial estate in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. And Cedric, I said before we started rolling, I am thrilled and shocked, actually, that you decided to actually do this at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning with me. But hey, I'm an early riser, and you are too, evidently. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you over there?
I'm good. So I'm in New Jersey. You're in Michigan. We're separated by, actually, we're in the same time zone, I think, right?
Yep, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
so we don't have we
about
have
8 o'clock.
about a 2 hour plane flight between us. The reason we're interviewing Cedric is my attention was drawn to his first novel, which I mentioned briefly in the opening, Liebach's Grow Your Roots Where You Land. And this is very broadly, it's a novel about an immigrant who comes to the United States from Somalia. You, of course, were an immigrant who came from another East African country. We'll get to your backstory, but let's first get to your today's story. So today you work for a civil engineering firm, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what do you do?
So I am basically a quality control personnel on the site. Let's say you want to do your foundation or the whole building. So you need people to like check the building capacity with the soil, really carry the whole building. So that's where I came in to just see how the foundation, the trench looks like, your concrete, asphalt. So yeah, I'm there to see if the contractor is doing what he said he's gonna do to the client. So I'm like the concrete police. That's why
Yeah.
my
So
my
you're one of
sales
the
is
people who make sure that the very basis of a building is up to code, up to spec, so that, 20 years from now, the building doesn't collapse, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So when I saw in one of your CVs, one of your resumes, that you are going to school for concrete technology, which
Mm,
I find fascinating. And the reason I find it fascinating is because when I worked at CBS, I had an office on the fourth floor of the building, and I
mm.
had a huge window in my office that looked down on a construction site. They were building a building from scratch. And so I could
Right.
look down on the foundation. They were driving the piles into the ground, into the
Mm,
bedrock. And I could never get, how do they know exactly where to drive those piles, right? And then the big concrete pump, the Putzmeister machine came in and dropped all this. And I just was like, I felt like I was 5 years old watching them put this stuff together. So you're one of those
right.
dudes, right? You're one of the people
Yes.
who make sure that's all being done correctly.
Right. So now concrete is the second most used material after drinking the water, the water we use every day. So concrete is the next thing. Like we use it as much as we use water.
You mean in the whole world?
Yes, in the whole, that's correct.
Wow. So, of course, none of us, people not in your field would know that. But, I take for granted when I see guys laying concrete and pumping concrete that this is just something that's been going on for decades and generations. But what is new in concrete technology these days? Has anything changed in the way concrete is made over the years?
Yes. So one thing I'm gonna mention quickly is the friendly, environment friendly
Hmm.
ways of doing concrete. So that is what we are pushing to the quick example. As I said, concrete is the second most used material worldwide. Now it is the third most polluter worldwide.
Is that right?
Yeah, so now how we gonna bring this pollution to like really low numbers so we enjoy concrete because we really need it. We build with it. It is this the hardest as rock. So it's something we need for this generation of building. So
So as a
I am
pollutant, it becomes a pollutant when it gets demolished and then it's not disposed of, or just because it exists?
no. So for concrete has different parts of concrete, I would say stones, the cement, the actual binding material, which looks grayish in color.
Hmm.
So to produce the grayish cement, the binder, that is the where the problem is. So you have to like heat the rocks, and then you're doing the process for heating the rocks into like this molten thin material, and so it takes a lot of energy. That's where the pollution starts. So
Wow.
usually that's where the problem is.
All right. Well, thank God people like you know what this is all about because I had no clue. The only thing I
Right.
know about concrete as a pollutant is that when I was a councilman in our town for a while, and when we went to curbside recycling, the
Mhm.
company that does our recycling also recycles concrete. In
Right.
fact, it's their bread and butter. It's their biggest customer, I guess. And so
Mm.
when I drove through there, I saw piles and piles and piles of concrete that was once dug up from roads. You could see the rebar and
Oh,
sticking out, and they hadn't gotten to it yet, but all the stuff that
right.
reinforces it, and it's lying there. And I said, how on earth do you possibly, I mean, obviously they know how to recycle concrete, but that's, of course, as you know, a huge industry.
Mm.
And as I guess what they do is they grind it up and they make it into something new, correct?
Right, yeah. So concrete is so for the US is a $600 billion industry. So it's so
Wow.
huge. So the recycling is part of it because after 5, 6 years, you're gonna have problems. So you tear the whole street apart. So you grind everything. So use that as a crushed concrete. So you can use it as a aggregate base before
Mm.
laying the new concrete at the top. So it's like, a repetitive thing. And I want to take that to my country as well. We don't use as much concrete as we should, and that's thing I want to that's ready for to go back.
Phew. Wow. So, and your country is your native country is Rwanda, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you came here when?
2019, August,
So
late
you've been here
August.
for coming up on, what is that, 6 years,
6 years,
right?
yes, that's correct. Yep.
And why did you want to come to America as opposed to any other country?
Right. I usually use this example how the Egypt used to be the biggest empire in the world. So every scholar who ever existed during the time period had like migrated there to like learn, understand things. And so the US in my time today as we speak, I see it as the same thing as the biggest empire, the greatest country. So you go learn, have the best exposure in whatever industry, and then, yeah, take over from there.
Wow, no kidding. So, in Liebach's, your book, Grow Your Roots Where You Land, I think that the subtitle kind of summarizes what the purpose of the novel is and what the basic storyline is. You write a novel, it's fiction. Your main character, your protagonist, is named Ayan. He's
Mm.
from Somalia, and the book opens with him showing up at an airport with nothing but one suitcase, and that's what he comes here with. He comes with one case of belongings, I guess the cup that he makes his tea in, and he's from Somalia. He hooks up with a friend who is also Somalian. They share this little apartment, and it's kind of about his slow integration and his kind of feeling of isolation as a brand new immigrant who doesn't
Mm.
know anything about the United States. He moves to Detroit and everything's different and he's not comfortable with the language yet. Does that parallel your experience when you came here?
Yes, I would say 60 to 70%. I went through the hard experience, so I just added my friend's experience to give Iron a broader exposure to new ways of living to in a familiar land.
So, did you know any English when you came here?
Yes, so yeah, I went to college in Rwanda, and Rwanda is an English-speaking country. It's like an official language
Oh,
since
of course. Okay.
'03, I will believe. Yeah, so yeah, everybody,
Oh,
especially
so
the
that's a
young,
huge help. At least you knew the language, right? At least
yes,
that's a
yes,
great
yes,
starting point. And when
right.
you got, what did you do for work when you first got here?
So basically, always been into construction and building things. So that's the things I straight went into. I waited a little bit to get the work authorization and the good stuff to work legally. And then yeah, ever since I've been into construction, it's I don't know, my safe space, I would say, is what I feel like my calling is into.
So you were into construction and concrete and building even in Rwanda.
Yes, so before I left Rwanda, I was working on this big infrastructure project. It's
Hmm.
supposed to be one of the biggest airport in Africa with like I believe 8 million people per year. And yeah, I was actually doing the same thing, concrete quality control, making sure the concrete is good as and understand it as we expect it to be.
Yeah, sure.
Mm.
So, I hate to admit this, but I think that like many Americans, I know very little about Rwanda. I know very
Right.
little about Somalia. Most of the stuff that we know is not good. I know that there was a pretty nasty civil war in Rwanda for a number of years. Somalia, I associate Somalia with, the movie Black Hawk Down, and the American, what happened there during those days, and then the whole pirate thing. But
Right.
I'm sure that there's much more to both of those countries than just those stereotypes, right? You sent me a couple of photographs of you. It looks like, I'm guessing back home, you're wearing these white robes with the black polka dots. What is
Mm.
is that some kind of a ceremony, or is that a celebration, or what are those pictures of?
Yeah, so those are actually that was my cousin's wedding. She went all out to do the culture. Her husband is actually I would say the most cultured person in
Oh
the
yeah,
whole country.
gotcha.
Yeah, so it was a really beautiful wedding ceremony. It was amazing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was prior to your beard and your goatee and your. I had to look and say, wow, he looks like he's 15 years old there.
Yeah, I was still, I believe, first year of college, if I'm correct.
Your writing is very it's descriptive almost to a granular extent. You do a lot of metaphors, right? A lot of metaphoric writing about his memories, a lot of memories about home and his mother, and things he remembers growing up that he brings with him because he doesn't have any new memories yet. He has to make them. He gets a job as a dishwasher, which is not his favorite thing, right? And then he makes it big as a DJ, right? And he makes it big because he mixes kind of Detroit urban sounds with
Mm,
Somalian music, Somalian kind of traditional music, and he
right.
layers those on top of each other. And it turns out that he becomes a huge hit on the Detroit party scene because of that, and because he's also a nice guy. And, it's a very positive story. Would you say that your first couple of years here were as positive as that, even though you did something different, or were there some obstacles that you could have totally done without?
Yes, so I came 2019 and the COVID hit
Yeah, of course.
really few months after.
Mm,
So I really never had, the exposure for the first few, I say the first year. I was just pretty much locked up. So I never really had those best experiences, I would say. And then, but about the third year, I would say 2021, that's when I picked up. That's when my love picked up again. I get a job and I love concerts, I love music. That's why Ian has a DJing
yeah,
into his profile, and I also DJ for fun. So I was like acting out how do we build life, like nobody knows you, so the social life. How my generation loves music, so how can we get to my people? So I was like, yeah, let's be it. Ian as a DJ, send him out, and I go to clubs. I go to like a event, or we call them open decks, where they bring the new DJs like with zero experience, just hang out. So that's where I get to meet young people my age and speak, and then when I play a little bit of Afrobeat, Amapiano, Kwarami songs, with a little bit of Detroit techno, then it's like a different sound. Everybody's like, man, yeah, now they know I'm different. I'm from some other place. I'm not
Mhm.
just an immigrant. I have, something texture to the culture. It's like yeah, it's like an eye-opening when somebody hears those beats for the first time, and then they give you a moment, they like, acknowledge you, be like, yeah, now we see you. So that's what I wanted to like give Ian or any other immigrant to have something to like, offer so people will see you, be like, yeah, now you're really doing something.
Well, Ian, in your book, he really he shoots up to the top of the DJ world. He becomes kind of a star, I guess,
Right,
in
right.
that environment, and then he makes plenty of friends. He gets a love interest, and she kind of comes and goes, and then he gets his motorcycle, which he names Libox, which means lion, and that becomes part of his identity. Right, this is kind of part of him becoming his whole self, as he calls it. Not living in the shadows as an immigrant anymore. Did you find coming here as an immigrant of color, kind of speaking with an accent? Did you find um, people giving you problems for that? Did you have to deal with any of that kind of negative crap?
Yes.
I'm
So
sure
it's
you did.
usually two things. It's either you're gonna pull somebody in, wanna be attentive, listen to you, or it's gonna be like, oh man, this is gonna be the whole day conversation. Yeah. So I've seen both faces be like, yeah, this is gonna be a long, kind of conversation. Then somebody be like, oh man, tell me more, I wanna hear more of the accent. So yeah, I've had both ways.
Do you find that in your working life as well?
Yes, yes, especially my job. I more like supervising, see how things are. So when things are going wrong or horribly wrong, sometimes a contractor can, back up, be like, is this guy actually qualified to even tell
Oh,
me my things are wrong? And then when I see those kind of things, I'm like, I have the chain of command. I'm not gonna engage. So I think engineering problems, they're engineering problems. You don't talk, fight over those. It's like, do this to adjust. So yeah, I have those days.
so in addition to doing a job that's very probably demanding and requires precision and requires accuracy, you have to deal with people who don't give you credibility because of maybe the way you look or the way you sound. So
Right,
you have to work a
absolutely.
little harder, I guess.
Yeah, so I have I stay on the point, on the top of everything, make sure if it is a five, yes, it is a five. So, there's no problems afterwards. Be like, yeah, yeah, I knew it all along, yeah,
I got you. Yeah,
yeah.
I speak because my parents went through this a little bit when they came here. They came from, as I said, came from post-war Germany in the 50s. They
Mm,
both spoke with accents. They knew no English when they came here. My dad only picked it up because he immediately started working, um, and we had he would have stories every once in a while of some of the guys making fun of his accent and whatnot. But a lot of the guys he worked with, they were from other places too. We worked, my
right. Mm,
neighborhood is a lot of European immigrant families. We had people from Ukraine, Italians. We had some, I mean, we had a little bit of everything. A bunch of white people, but their families all came from Europe, and some
right.
of them they were first or second generation, so they kind of got it a little bit. And I got
Mm,
to say, growing up in Philadelphia and now in New Jersey, both of these places are part of the what I call the extended melting pot of the Northeast. We have people
mm,
here from everywhere.
right.
People, they come from everywhere. And my kids went to a school that was very diverse, and I grew up in a diverse kind of, after I left my little lily white neighborhood, I went out into the world, and that, Philadelphia has everybody now.
Right,
And I think
right.
that's really important. I think it's important that people know that they're not the center of the universe, that there is a much bigger universe out there. What is, if I can ask you a very broad question about the message of your book,
Mm.
if the what is the message of your book? Why did you write it, and what is important for people to know about it?
Right. So the first thing is the belonging, finding a place where like nobody knows you. How do you adjust? How do you find life? Because I believe this is all we have. This is the one life. The afterlife is there. It's maybe, but I want to have the best life here. So if I'm where nobody knows me, I'm still have to find ways to live this life as much as best as I can, and that's what the message I talk about: the resilience, freedom. How do you go heartbreak in another country because dating? We have like our culture now. We have different culture. Yeah, the integration in general, but most of all, the message is resilience and freedom and belonging.
Gotcha. All right, we're going to talk more about that and also about your writing process. Like, I'm always
Right.
interested in how, do you like sit in a dark room and write, or do you yell into your iPhone at a red light, or how do you come up with your ideas and stuff?
Mm.
First, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to promote my latest book, and we'll be right back with Cedric Muhikira. Don't go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're back with Cedric Muhikira. He is in suburban Detroit. I'm in New Jersey. By the way, it's going to be 100 degrees today in New Jersey. I hope it's not that hot where you are. But hey, it's summer. It happens, right? Hey, Rwanda gets lots of hot weather, I guess, right?
So Rwanda is south of the equator. We are
Oh, of course.
next to DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's like one of the biggest forest country in the world. So we get the breeze. Yeah, I would say Rwanda is a nice, I would say 60, 70, 80 degrees
Really?
max. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then I take it back. It's not all 100 degrees. All right.
No,
So I'm going to ask you just one or two more immigrant questions, and then we'll move on to the book.
right.
We live in a time now, and, we both agreed that we're not going to delve into the politics of immigration because that's another podcast, folks. I'm not
Mm.
doing that here. But I think it's fair to say that in June of 2025, which is where we are now, I think that there is probably more fear and angst in the immigrant community in America than there ever has been. We're talking not
Mm.
just among people who are here illegally, but people who are here legally, people who are here on visas with green cards, people who became citizens. Do you feel that? Do you feel that either yourself or among your own friends who are immigrants?
Yes, outside by myself, actually I have a publicist. She's doing the best job.
Yes, she is. She
Yeah.
led me to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So she find me this interview. She was actually gonna pitch me in Los Angeles, fly in, do in-person interview. But when she told me the proposal, the first thing I thought was, oh man, I can never be at LAX anywhere at this time because I'm not gonna, safety first. It's going
Oh.
crazy over there. So I was like, no, don't even,
So you
think
turned it
about
down
it.
because you didn't want to go to Los
Yes,
Angeles
absolutely. I was like, no, I
because
cannot.
of what you've seen on TV and what's
Yes,
going.
yeah. I mean, LA is like, yeah, no, I don't want to be,
Oh,
anywhere
that's a
close.
shame.
Yes. So I was like, let's try something different, and yeah, maybe next time.
So
And
you have to settle with me by Zoom from me in New Jersey here. Oh well,
right,
bigger and
yeah,
better is on the way. What
yeah.
about where you live? Do you feel I understand that Michigan uh, has a fairly large immigrant community, a lot of people from the Middle East, from Africa. There's a large
Mhm.
Muslim community in Michigan. Is that true? And do you find that welcoming? I mean, have you found it, fairly, I hate to use the word safe, but I'll use the word safe where you are?
Yeah, so I feel like Michigan and Detroit, I feel a lot of safer. Maybe I've been here for close to 6 years. Yeah, but I feel I have a supportive, well made family. I have like friends. I have elder people like in my book. I talk about Marcus. It's
Sure.
59-year-old. yeah, I have like other people that I talk to. So I feel more like, even if I get into trouble, I have somebody to call.
All right, let's talk about writing. So, when
Mm.
did you get the idea to write this book and why did you do it?
So just my experiences. I didn't have any book to read about the first immigration person point of view. How do you deal with all this craziness? Besides my friends telling me we do this and that. So I was like, yeah, let me make a roadmap, create an iron, somebody who humble beginnings, and then building himself up. So whoever comes to US or elsewhere in the world, or whoever feels outsider, read the book and feel, there's another person who went through all of this, even if it's
Hmm.
a fiction character, but it's more like, there's a hope to it. There is a dreams. There's go waking up regardless, being invisible, go out there, create something for yourself. So yeah, that's what I wanted. I envisioned when I picked up the pen and started writing my stories. It was more like, bring in those people who really don't know what to do in our cases.
So you had kind of two reasons. Reason number one was catharsis for yourself to kind of put your own experiences down on paper and out there, but also as kind of maybe kind of like an instruction manual for other immigrants, like, I went through this, you
Right.
might be experiencing the same thing, and the ultimate message is you'll probably be okay, I guess, because
Right.
Ion in your book turns out to be, better than okay, just like you.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that's what makes us, part of the new society. I don't believe we are consumers, as you'd say. Maybe I'm gonna go into economic a little bit. To have a well-functioning economy or the country, as my second book will be, you need to have land, capital, entrepreneurial talent, and human resources. So now we are the human resources. We do things. So we're not just consuming. So if I am from zero to being somebody who does things, that's what makes the culture he's into, more like, yeah, this guy is here doing things. That's my message. We're not gonna be consumers or a burden to the new culture, and not gonna add to it, produce and be fruitful to the new world.
So did I read someplace that you're going to school also now
Yes,
to
yes.
get a
So
master's or whatever or is it a PhD?
not a PhD
Not
yet.
yet.
Yeah, I did an associate degree in civil engineering back home. So when I moved, I came, did, I always want to grow, move from this position to the next level. So in the construction, it's more like ranks. So if you're not up here, education level, it's gonna take you years to get there. So I was like, I gotta go back to school. I still
Okay.
have it in me, and I don't mind if I'm studying with the kids or younger generation. I'm there. Yeah, because this is it. I want to be a big guy as well. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, when I went to EMT school, I was like in my mid 40s. I was the second oldest guy in that class. There was a cop in there who I think was probably 50. But yeah,
Right.
the classes were popular. I mean, even today, EMT classes are mostly kids in their late teens, early 20s who
Mm,
want to have a future in that. So while you were writing this book, you were working and going to school.
yes.
So how did you
So
do that? When did you have time to write?
well, so I think I usually I'm not like a formal writer as formal writer would say. So I get inspiration. I feel there's a story to write down, and then I just write it down. And yeah, I think I get time. 24 hours. It's
Yeah, but when? I mean, did you do it in between school and work? Did you come home at 5 o'clock and sit down for an hour? Did you do it on weekends? Did you wake up at 3 in the morning? Or when did you actually do the writing? Is my question.
Right. So it's in the morning. So mornings are like my times. Let's say from 4 to 6. I am a really early person, and then I go to bed super early, 9:30,
Oh,
10.
you and me
Yeah.
both, pal. I'm up at 5, and Christ, if I can stay up past 10 o'clock, that's like a special event, you know?
Yeah, so by 4, 5, I'm really awake, and I get, I think, feel like, I meditate in the sense
Okay.
of, having visions and plans. So yeah, I get few minutes to just write down a few things.
And how long did it take you to write the book?
I feel like it took me at least 2 to 3 years.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, though my editor, she did an amazing job. She really understood my vision.
Mm.
She corrected my way of saying things because I was just saying them in for the sake of saying them, and then
Sure,
she
you
was,
wanted to just get it down, but then she cleaned it up a little bit. No,
yeah, so
that's pretty common.
she was like, no, this needs a little cleanup, and she went through it with me. It was an amazing process.
Yeah. And did you self-publish the book, or do you have a publisher, or how did you do that?
Yes, I'm self-published.
Me too. Yeah, I've
Mm.
self-published 8 different books, and
8.
yeah, I mean, what I like about it is you have complete control over everything. I also
Right.
do my own covers. I do
Oh.
my own editing. I use online based tools to help edit because I just can't spend $4,000 on some stranger to read my shit. But the downside is if you don't have a publisher behind you,
Mm.
it's much harder to market the book. The book's never going to show
Yes.
up in supermarkets, at airports. You kind of have to, your marketing is completely based on how much money you have to spend to do advertising. So I wanted to ask you a question or two about your cover. Did you design your cover? Did somebody do it for you, or what?
Yes, somebody did it for me, and yeah, I just provided the picture, the name, the content, the feeling, and then they just paste everything together.
What is the story behind the man with the machine gun there, or the not a machine gun, it's an assault rifle? What's that? I
Right,
only asked
right.
because your main character, Ayan, he doesn't he's not at all associated with I guess the Somali pirates that were part of his roommate's story. Ahmed, his name is. He spent some time in his youth pirating, as did his father, and then some of his stories are about that. And then his father died in the process of that, right? It wasn't his father was killed. And I think that was part of Ahmed's process to basically say, I'm not doing this anymore. He gave pirating up because it was violent, dangerous. Plus, I guess, he wanted to, make maybe a moral decision too. And when he came to America, he wanted to leave that behind. But what was your thinking in putting that in there?
So I wanted a strong character. That's why I even went to Somalia to begin with. I'm from Rwanda. I mean, we're strong, but I wanted someone who went truly into rough times and his father was a pirate and then he died at the sea. So the kid has a really strong background. The gun, I would say, simply suggests that he's really a strong, powerful man, and then with his history, and though in the book I hint on masculinity because such a kid with the background and then come to America and then he's going through these other rough times, which breaks him emotionally, and he loves Isabella who doesn't love him back, which shook Ian to the core. And then it's like, how can you have been through this history, your father and everything, but you still have this emotional side. So yeah, that's things I want to hint using the cover, the emotional side of things into the book. Yeah, that's pretty much everything.
You mentioned briefly that your next book will have to do with more economic stuff. Are you writing something else now?
Yes, so I'm thinking of what can a diaspora do for the people on planet, on a continent of Africa. We have close to 1.5 billion people, and then those people as really young. I'll give you an example of Rwanda, my country. 60, close, I believe, to 70% are below 30 years of age. So
Hmm.
that's really a young
Yeah.
population. And if you go to Burundi, next door country, the same thing. And then the unemployment rate in Rwanda is 14%. To put it into perspective or reference, in the US, 3 to 4%. And that means the economy is doing really good.
Yeah.
So now, and then we're gonna have a lot of people cross oceans, then get drowned and trying to have, a better life elsewhere. So now this is more like what the diaspora can do to have this 1.5 billion young people, the human resources, as I said, we have
Hmm.
land, we have a lot of capital, we have human resources, of course, in abundance, and entrepreneurial talents, the CEOs, those big brain guys. I'm sure they are everywhere. So yeah, I want to bring attention to that on in my second book.
Gotcha. Good for you. Well, I wish you luck with that. I know that starting from scratch can be the most daunting part of writing. You stare at that
Right.
screen, there's nothing on it, and you have to start and figure out how am I going to start this thing? I've done that many times. Well, Cedric, it's been great meeting you. I've learned so much about not only the immigrant experience, but concrete and building. And hey, I learn something new every time I do an interview for this podcast. I really
Mhm.
appreciate you joining me. Cedric Muhikira, author of Leebox, Grow Your Roots Where You Land. I wish you luck with the book, and I wish you luck with your second book, and be well and stay safe.
Yeah, thank you, Tom.